These three cards are very abusable in Legacy. This is because Artifact Ramp can allow us to play them as soon as turn 1. After ramping out one of these powerful 4-drops, we have many different lines to win the game. Having access to Lion's Eye Diamond, we can use Echo of Eons to refill our hand, or use the Infinite Mill from Basalt Monolith and Mesmeric Orb, as we can pay to untap the Monolith with itself. This will either let us find an Echo of Eons and put it into the graveyard, or control the top card of our library, as Mystic Forge lets us cast things off the top, so we can really control what we want to put into play. So that we can cast every artifact mana in our deck, cast Karn the Great Creator, and then cast Aetherflux Reservoir to kill the opponent. This list is very powerful, and any cards that you don't know I will explain throughout the video. This video is sponsored by NordVPN. If you don't know what a VPN is, it's a virtual private network that allows you to connect securely to another network over the internet. So if you go to my referral link on screen now, you are able to connect to 60 countries through NordVPN in a very smooth process. As you can see here, in one click, I can connect to Spain. This makes sure you won't miss your favorite content. Even when traveling, you can stay at home virtually, or you can go to other countries to watch their exclusive content, and it's all done in a single click. With the threat protection feature from NordVPN, you can protect yourself from so many different types of attacks that are always happening on the internet nowadays. Phishing attacks, password attacks, DDoSing, malware, viruses, all of this stuff, NordVPN will make sure that you're warned if something looks suspicious and keep you protected while you're browsing the internet. Grab your exclusive NordVPN deal by going to nordvpn.com/HarryMTG to get a huge discount off your NordVPN plan, plus 4 extra months for free. It's completely risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee if you aren't satisfied. Thank you so much Nord for sponsoring this video, and now let's get into the gameplay. Round 1 starts off simple. I have no playable hand down to 3 cards. What's good though is that this 3 is a City of Traders, a One Ring, and a Manifold Key. So this does allow me to get lucky and draw something like a Grid Monolith to play a turn 1 ring. But this goes out the window when the opponent has a turn 1 Unmask to take the ring, and then a Grief to take my Manifold Key. With the Mesmeric Orb off the top of my deck, I play that to hope to mill an Echo of Eons, but my opponent just quickly exhumes a Gristlebrand, so this game is over. Throughout this video, you're going to see sideboarding is easy, and that's because we're playing 4 main deck Defense Grid. Defense Grid is not good against Reanimator, so we can take out 4 of those and bring in 4 Leyline of the Void. And game 2 starts off great because we have a turn 1 Leyline of the Void, as well as a Walking Ballista to put pressure on the opponent. Echo of Eons is great here alongside Urza's Saga because this Urza's Saga can eventually fetch a Lion's Eye Diamond, which will let us draw a fresh 7. But, after I put the Leyline of the Void into play, put my Walking Ballista on the table, the opponent just concedes the game. I clearly have the skills of having Leyline of the Void in my opening hand, but to be fair, we did mulligan to 3 game 1. Anyways, with an Urza's Saga and an Ancient Tomb here, it's just an easy win with the constructs. Going into the next round, we're on the draw and have a terrible opening 7, and our opening 6 doesn't have any mana sources, so we have to go down to 5, which is decent because we can play a turn 1 Karn. Now you may be wondering why we play Lion's Eye Diamond in the sideboard, and this is that exact spot. We can play our Karn the Great Creator turn 1, and if the opponent doesn't have a counterspell or a way to interact with it, we can get Lion's Eye Diamond from our sideboard and Echo of Eon straight away. The opponent starts off the game with a Volcanic Island and a Preordain. Yes, my opponent could be playing a Force of Will, but I have no choice but jamming this Karn turn 1, as I have nothing better to do, and if you want to sandbag it to play around counterspells, then you're just praying off the top of the deck. Fortunately, the opponent doesn't have a counterspell, so now I can get the Lion's Eye Diamond, Echo of Eons, and hope to get something good. Our hand isn't too amazing, but at least we have Mesmeric Orb and Basalt Monolith to work towards a combo kill, as well as multiple Karns if the opponent kills this one. With the opponent casting a Brainstorm and playing a Polluted Delta, I find a Mystic Forge off the top. There's many things you can do with 4 mana by playing the Ancient Tomb, but I think it would be a lot better to get this Urza's Saga online to both pressure the opponent with constructs, as well as we can cast the Basalt Monolith to work towards a Mesmeric Orb next turn. With the Basalt Monolith on the stack, the opponent does have a Daze, and as we don't have a mana to pay for it, it will go to the graveyard. I plus my Karn the Great Creator as I'm not sure what I need in this spot, and I'd rather have the decision next turn. Now things don't look too good for us when the opponent has a City of Traders and a Show and Tell. What's nice about Show and Tell though is it lets us put an artifact into play from our hand, so now this Mystic Forge gets to go onto the table for free. The opponent does have an Atraxa, which does find a Force of Will. After they make some decisions, they eventually have a Sneak Attack, Force of Will, and Emrakul in hand. So this means that next turn my opponent is going to be playing Sneak Attack and putting Emrakul into play if they have mana to do so. but after exiling the top card of my library with Mystic Forge, there's an Ancient Tomb on top. So the only thing I can really do here is minus my Karn to get Ensnaring Bridge so that the Atraxa can't attack. I do know about the Force of Will, but I want to force them to use it, so hopefully next turn I can combo kill them. I did make a slight mistake here by not playing Lotus Petal, because yes, they could have days in hand. After they Force of Will my Ensnaring Bridge, I play my Lotus Petal, and the opponent attacks down the Karn to death. They then Brainstorm and play their sneak attack using a Lotus Petal and their fetch land. With the opponent passing back, I'm hoping that they don't have a counterspell in hand, as we do know that one of them is an Emrakul. Resolving Urza's Saga's 3rd chapter, we can get a Manifold Key so that I can either untap the Grim Monolith for more mana, or untap Mystic Forge to get an extra exile on the top of the library. Now with a Lion's Eye Diamond on top, and a Mesmeric Orb, we can try to start to combo. Things aren't a guaranteed kill here because we don't have a Basalt Monolith in play. And sadly, this build of the deck does not play Basalt Monolith in the sideboard anymore, so I can't Karn to get Basalt Monolith to win the game. We need to find it off the top of the library. What's good here is I can play my Karn, and then I can cast Echo of Eons to hit 2 birds with 1 stone. I can both find a Basalt Monolith, and I can shuffle away my opponent's Emrakul that we know that they have in hand. What's nice is we find a defense grid off the top, which makes all my opponent's counterspells not work, so they have to Force of Will it. Now we can cast cards off the top of the library, which finds me a One Ring. This is perfect because if the opponent does have something like another Emrakul or another Atraxa, it doesn't matter because they can't kill us through combat damage, they can only attack the Karn. It's important here that I didn't cast a defense grid with the Lotus Petal and Mox Opal because I don't want to sacrifice the Lotus Petal, as I do need cards on the battlefield to sacrifice to a potential Annihilator 6 from an Emrakul. After the opponent looks at the top 10 with Atraxa and casts a Ponder, they do eventually sneak attack in the Emrakul. Both of the creatures attack Karn, and I have to sacrifice 6 of my permanents. As Karn is being attacked, we can sacrifice that, and we can sacrifice our Grim Monolith because that is not going to untap. So now those are 3 easy permanents. I believe that Mox Opal, Lotus Petal, and Ancient Tomb aren't really needed because we have mana in our hand, as well as we can find it off the top of the deck with both the One Ring and Mystic Forge. After the dust settles, we have a really cool play here, and that's because on our upkeep, everything untaps, and now we can see the top card with Mystic Forge and Mesmeric Orb. So here, if there's a Basalt Monolith on top of the deck, like there is here, I can draw with the One Ring before it's milled with Mesmeric Orb. And now we have the combo of Basalt Monolith and Mesmeric Orb. We basically just win the game if the opponent doesn't have a counterspell. But because we have the defense grid, we have extra backup. So casting the defense grid and the opponent has a counterspell, it doesn't really matter, because now we just win the game. Aetherflux Reservoir is genuinely a beautiful magic card, especially in this deck. It fits it perfectly as we cast a load of mana spells off the top of our deck to get a load of mana to cast our Karn. Then we can cast a load of more 0-drop artifacts, and the Aetherflux Reservoir will kill the opponent. This matchup, we love defense grid, so there are literally no sideboarding decisions, and we keep a nice opening hand with a turn 2 Karn. The opponent does play a turn 1 Ponder and doesn't shuffle. I do play a turn 1 Manifold Key here, but I think it would be better to play the Mesmeric Orb because that would mill their top card of their library. It's a mistake, and I didn't check if they shuffled with Ponder or not. But what is nice is the opponent show and tells, and we can put Mystic Forge into play for free. The opponent gets to look at the top 10 with their Atraxa, but they only find a Daze and not a Force of Will. And now with a Basalt Monolith on the top of the deck and a Mesmeric Orb in hand, we can try and go for a kill here. With Basalt Monolith going onto the table, we can cast our Lion's Eye Diamond and then Mesmeric Orb, but they do have the Force of Will. This is completely fine though, because we have access to a lot of mana. Exiling the land on top of the deck, we find a Mox Opal and a Manifold Key. I actually miscounted my mana, and I believe I missequenced here, because I could have cast the defense grid first and then the Karn. But it literally doesn't matter, because we know the opponent just has a Daze, as if they had a Force of Will, something else would have been countered. Now we can play our Karn, sacrifice the Lion's Eye Diamond, cast the Ensnaring Bridge, and the defense grid. After the opponent casts a load of Brainstorms, they cast a Lotus Petal and concede the match. What was nice is we kept winning matches. In round 3, I managed to win both games 1 and games 2 just by combo killing the opponent with Aetherflux Reservoir. Then in round 4, same thing again, we played against Reanimator, but this time blue-black, and with the double Leyline of the Void in our opening hand game 3, we were able to slow down the opponent enough so that we could kill them with Aetherflux Reservoir again. Round 5 was really rough though because the opponent had multiple copies of Null Rod, which they were able to cast in both games 2 and games 3 after we combo killed them in the first one. Overall, I really enjoyed this deck, and it sucks to lose to the 5-0 in the last round, but it is what it is, it happens. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and thank you NordVPN for sponsoring me.